Welcome to the Winner Will podcast for athletes, parents, and coaches. I'm Giselle Kruger, creator and founder of the Winner Will, where we help elite student athletes perform under pressure in sport, school, and life. On today's podcast, I'm joined by our guest, Kacey Otto. I met Kacey when she was 14 years old, just starting out in her volleyball career, and she's now 25 years old. So it's been so great to watch her develop over the years and do the work it takes to train her body, her skills, and her mind to become a fierce competitor. You know, she's always been one of those athletes who thrives in the heat of the battle on the court. And that's why, we want her here today, is because that's what we believe here at the Winner Will, that you can learn to compete with confidence and perform under pressure. And Kacey's going to share a little bit about her athletic journey with you, which we hope will encourage you in your athletic pursuits. But before we begin our conversation today, I want to spend a few minutes telling you about Kacey's accomplishments as a student athlete. She's won pretty much everything an athlete in the sport of volleyball could win, so here it goes. Kacey's a two-time high school provincial champion, a three-time club national championship, and at the 17U level, she was awarded the MVP at that national championship. She's a member of the Alberta team who won the gold medal at the 2013 Canada Summer Games. And Kacey's a three-time CIS U Sport national silver medalist. She's a Canada West gold medalist. And in her first year in university, she was chosen to be on the CIS all-rookie team. That's the national all-rookie team, and was a Canada West second team all-star. And she was named as a U Sport National Champion Tournament All-Star. So Kacey is also the Pandas Volleyball President Award recipient and holds the Canada West record for the Career Conference Service Aces. And she played for Team Canada in 2017 for the FISU World Student Games. Now, during her whole athletic career, Kacey was captain or co-captain for pretty much every team she played on. So now her academic record is outstanding as well. Her first degree was in the Bachelor of Kinesiology, where she majored in a sports performance degree and earned honors with distinction and was on the Dean's List each year. And every year she played volleyball at the U of A, she was an academic All-Canadian, which is a huge accomplishment. Currently, Kacey is completing her second degree, which is a Bachelor of Education, and will be an elementary school teacher. So as you hear this list of accomplishments, I'm sure you'll agree that Kacey is an amazing student athlete. But what makes Kacey such an exceptional young woman is that she is humble, she's kind, she's fun, she's a giver, and she's a lifelong learner. So to welcome Kacey to the Winner Will podcast today, I want to thank you for taking time to give back to the sport you love and by being my guest on our podcast here today.
Well, thank you for having me, and thanks for those kind words. That was really nice.
Of course.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, of course. So I'd love for our listeners today to hear about your story. Just basically what we'll go through is kind of what it was like for you in the beginning of your elite athletic journey. What were some of your obstacles that you experienced as you developed as an elite athlete and became the fierce competitor that you are? And what did you do to overcome those obstacles? So why don't we start by you telling us what it was like for you as a young developing athlete?
Sure. Well, I had a really great experience as a young volleyball player. I would say that I was really lucky to be on teams with really talented athletes and coaches who knew a lot about the sport. And it was really fun too for my club. Most of my club teams was that the girls stayed pretty consistent throughout the years.
Mm-hmm.
So it was cool to kind of get to know each other well, understood each other's strengths and weaknesses. And so I think that really helped us to provide or to build like a really good team bond that helped us during the years. So I was super lucky with that. In first couple years of volleyball, I wasn't a starter. So I was pretty new to the sport and had to kind of, I guess, earn my way on the court and learn more about the technical aspects of volleyball, improve physically. And then once I met you, we started working on the mental side as well. So that was kind of the first time that I had that as a focus.
Yeah.
and realized like how important the mental side of the sport is as well.
Mhm.
And yeah, just those combined really helped me to then like work my way onto the court and become a starter, and become a captain of certain teams. And there were lots of obstacles throughout that period of time, and things that I'm still working on to this day. But yeah, working with the winter will really helped me develop as a young athlete, and helped me enjoy the process along the way as well.
Yeah, that's so much of it, isn't it? Like, really, it doesn't have to be so painful because I think that was you're right. Like, it is a really kind of cool process to really become more self-aware, receive language for you to be able to talk about what's really going on for you in the court, and just work on the every aspect of your sport and not just the physical and the skills, the physical body. Training, weights, cardio, that sort of thing, and the skills, but you really dug into the mental and emotional training. So why don't you expand a little bit more on what some of those specific obstacles were for you?
Yeah, definitely during university volleyball, a little bit during club volleyball as well. I would say that like making mistakes was the biggest obstacle for me, and just kind of I don't know if fear is the word, but I guess kind of that fear or after the fact almost regret for making mistakes was like that big obstacle. And during university, statistics came more into play, right? During games, they keep stats on your kills and on your errors. And I became just super focused on what those stats looked like and kind of what the people around me thought about them or thought about how I played.
Yeah,
And so I think I was just so focused like on what other people thought that for a lot of it, it took away the enjoyment of the game and my ability to be in the moment because my head was, thinking about the error I had just made more than the next point coming up. Um, so, I would fixate on things I thought I wasn't doing well on and kind of forgot about those areas where I excelled. So
mhm,
that was something that yeah, really had to work on and worked on with you a lot.
mhm,
And then I would say just, physically at the university level, I wasn't a huge outside hitter. Um, and I kind of wanted to, I guess, be seen as that powerful outside who could get the kills. Um, and so I compared a lot of my successes to like the number of kills I got. So that was challenging for me too. And then I was able to start overcoming those obstacles and learn what my strengths were and be a little bit more proud of my strengths and not fixate so much on, getting kills or making errors. That became kind of a back
mhm.
of the mind thought towards the end of my career.
Yeah, yeah. So maybe talk a little bit about some of the tools that we used in the winter will that helped you to overcome those things, fear of making a mistake, kind of
Mhm.
self-consciousness, like what other people are thinking, those sorts of things. How did you do that, and what were some of the tools that you used during that time?
Yeah, definitely your three rules have always been um, a big thing that I would go back to and kind of remind myself of, because I think that plays a huge role in obviously like statistics and being concerned what other people thought. I started to realize that really nobody else cares in that moment what you're doing as much as you do.
Yeah,
So that helped me a lot for sure. And then I would also say like working on dominant thought played a big role too. Whenever I found myself kind of, thinking the negative or thinking don't make this error, I would try and flip the words and
yeah,
think more of something that I can do or like something positive to focus on. And like I just really found that when you change that wording,
yeah,
even though it's like such a slight thing, that it really does, your body kind of follows what your mind is saying,
yeah.
right? Which is something I
Okay.
learned from you. So um, that was huge. And when I started to change my thought and gain a little bit more confidence, then I started to then be like really proud of the, I guess, skills or areas of volleyball that I knew um, that I was excelling at.
Yeah.
And so then it was like, okay, you know what, this isn't working right now, but positive thinking, I'm going to focus on this part that is.
Yeah.
That dominant thought changed a lot of how I was thinking and then how my body reacted as well.
Yeah, it's so true. It really is so simple when you think about it. You know, the restore the dominant thought is one of the strategies, and basically what you're saying is so true that when we put in the correct thought, and most of the time that is positive for sure, it's basically where we want to go, like what we want to see happen, as
Mhm.
opposed to what we're moving away from or don't want to happen. And really understanding that the brain doesn't, distinguish between a do or a don't, or I can or I can't. It's more what is the dominant thought. So we started, you came up with your dominant thoughts, like I love pressure and I get the kill and set me, and all those things, that and then your body, like you said, just every cell of your being follows that thought. And I think that is the simplicity of it, really, is
Mhm.
change the thought, change the feeling. And it doesn't come super fast. I mean, that's why you have to train. That's why you have to, maybe touch base, every now and then we would touch base and just be reminded, or just go over it, or whatever. And you just continue to dig in until it became natural for you, and it was who you are. It is who you are. And yeah, and how you performed. So it was really neat to see you just do the actual training of that, training the mind. And it does take time, doesn't it?
Yes, totally. Yeah, I would call, as you know, call you lots and just work on the things that were issues for me or that I was struggling with, and just like having someone to work through it with, and like that just made it so much easier too, and kind of gave me a new perspective on a lot of things, which was really helpful. And like I said before, you like all this work really helped instill that confidence in me to then, you know, like I said, know what my strengths were and
Yeah,
be like just like feel really good about those things and know that I was still contributing even if like my kill stats weren't where I necessarily wanted them to be, right? Like I still
yeah,
knew I was making a difference being a leader. So yeah, it's a lot of work, but
yeah.
as long as you're willing to put it in, I think you can make big changes for sure.
And there's just such a direct correlation, don't you think, between doing the work and gaining confidence? Like really, it doesn't make you perfect, but you've put in the work, you're doing the right things, so it just gives you such a strong foundation to stand on, I think. And that's what
Mhm.
I saw in you. Like I said, it's simple. It's not hard work. It's just work. And it takes that committed kind of diligence to continue to train it. Just like learning how to do a squat, you can have all the information in the world on a squat, but if you don't get in the gym and do it and do the training, you're not going to gain that physical benefit. So it's really the one thing that so many of the athletes I've worked with, including yourself, watching them gain confidence. Um, because I think you were always pretty confident in your athletic ability. You're an exceptional athlete, but it's the intricacies, it's the kind of the intangibles that where we can lose confidence so quick. And you just continue to train that and build it, and it became just a non-issue, really, in many respects toward the end of your career. And you didn't really need much more contact with me. My job, in fact, is to put myself out of a job and equip you. And I think that's what happened. And now our calls are more like around friendship and relationship and mentorship. And you're teaching me things now. And I'm, still, now you're a coach. And so I can speak into you as a coach. And you're, sharing things with me that the young athletes and are learning. And so it's just this constant reciprocity of relationship, and it means a lot for sure. And I've really appreciated it.
Well, thanks. Well, so
Yeah.
do I. You've made a big difference in my life, and your program has impacted me in a number of ways. So I'm very thankful for you and always have been.
Thanks, Casey. Hey, can we go back to the three rules just for those people who are listening right now who've never heard of them? nobody cares, you're not that important, and it's not all about you. Relieving you of the burden of self is kind of how we talk about it, and self-consciousness, self-importance, and self-absorption. And I think, do you want to speak a little bit more about just, and we always joke and we say, there's two kinds of people in the world: those who know the three rules and those who don't. But it's kind of true. Like, once you become self-aware of really how little people are thinking about you and your mistakes and what's going on in your world, and not because they don't care about you, but really they care about themselves and what's going on in their world and with their stats and with what's going on for them. So do you want to maybe add anything else for our listeners that would encourage them to maybe explore the three rules a little bit more? There's a podcast on our website at thewinnerwill.com if they want to go check that out, but maybe just a little few words from you about that strategy, know the three rules.
Yeah, I think that's just something that's really challenging, especially growing up. And I'm speaking for myself, but I'm sure other people can relate. Just like, we compare ourselves to others all the time and are so concerned with what other people think. And it just like it's a big weight, I think, to hold. And when you can finally realize that, you know what, I'm doing the best that I can, I'm putting in the work, I'm making a difference, and nobody else is really that concerned with it.
Yeah.
Um, it's a big relief, and I can't say that I've completely mastered it yet. I'm still working on it, but I think it's just something that's really beneficial, especially to young athletes. And yeah, I would recommend that people do listen to that podcast that you put out, because I think it makes a big difference. It did for me, for sure.
Yeah, and just that freedom to be yourself and just be free to play in the moment. And
Yeah.
it is such a process though, isn't it? I mean, I'm still working on it too, and I've done a little bit more work on ego, and I'm going to do a podcast here shortly on ego, and just even expanding on, just really understanding how all that works and how it affects our performance. So yeah, thanks for speaking to that a bit more. So I have another question. What would you tell your 14-year-old self now, given what you know and have been through in competitive sport?
I would for sure tell myself to just like fully enjoy every experience, and to really try and just learn from mistakes and not dwell on them. That would be a
Yeah,
huge one.
good.
And then the second one would be that, like, everybody is going through struggles, going through something in their life, and it's so important, I think, to just like reach out when you need it. And so that was something that obviously helped me, like reaching out with you and being able to work through the things in sport, and just like being open and telling, like telling your truth to other people, and then
Mhm.
being supportive of others who maybe need to talk to you as well, if that makes sense. So just like, I know it's hard for people, and it was definitely hard for me, I think, just starting to be open and really like explain the things that was I was going through as an athlete. And but it just like is so nice to have a support system. And so I think being okay with sharing, but then also being able to be that person for your teammates is really important as well. So I would tell myself that too, just be okay with it, and um, know that you're not the only one going through tough times as an athlete.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think that's why you were chosen by your teammates and coaches as a leader. And I mean, I always watched you play, and could just tell people were following you because you were just yourself and you were vulnerable and you were able to kind of say, hey, I'm not perfect and this is the growth process I'm in. And I think it's just so refreshing to see that. And I think then people want the same, they want to kind of figure their stuff out too. So I think that's such a big part of leadership. Plus, like I said earlier, I think that you're really fun to be with and fun on the court, and being in the moment, and I think that makes a big difference for people too.
Hey.
So Yeah, well, some final thoughts for our listeners today. Like, given the current COVID-19 pandemic, perhaps you could share some advice for your athletes during this time. You're a coach now, you're coaching U16 athletes, or no, U17, and they've lost their season. They're in the midst of this quarantine, figuring out ways to continue to train their body and their skills and their mind. They're having to be really creative, and we're hoping their hopes and dreams are still there for them, but definitely this uphill climb has become steeper during this time of crisis. So any thoughts that you'd like to share with them at this time?
Yeah, the one thing I said to them, and I'm sure you could agree with, is just really try and stay active in whatever way. Maybe it's going for a walk or doing a workout or something, but that's helped me for sure just to clear my head and, um, it helps me stay productive and having a routine like during the day I have a certain time when I'm going to work out and I'm lucky to work out with somebody, but I mean if you need that extra support, even just like if you can do a video chat with someone and work out together, I think that is really helpful. And then the second thing, got a good piece of advice from someone, was just like try to control the things in your control, right? Like there are so many things at this time that are out of our control,
Mhm.
and like when you dwell on those and really think about those, it becomes overwhelming.
Yeah.
So I'm really trying to just like focus on the things I can control and do those to the best of my ability, whether that's just like getting my homework done right now, working out, staying connected with people, and trying to just let everything else be and just deal with what I can and know that, things will work out in the end, hopefully, and not
Yeah.
to stress too much.
Yeah, and that's so true, isn't it? Like, how we view things is how we do things. So you're, what focusing on what you can control, things we're putting in our mouth, things we're when we go to sleep, like you said, our routine, like all the things that matter as an athlete during this time. And yeah, so yeah, I really appreciate that because I think that's pretty encouraging for our listeners. So thanks, Casey. And I just want to thank you so much for being our guest today on this podcast. And thanks to you, our listeners, for tuning in today.
Well, thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun.
It was great. Take care, Casey.